there's a whole sort of group that extend from about Mark's a little bit younger than my dad. But it's basically Mark's in like sort of early 50s to people about 10 years old. And they're all sort of going in this wave together. It's going to be a whole different business in another 15 years.
With the interest rates going up, will your business pick up? Because it just seems like the last, 8 to 10 years, it's all been about refinance. Well, even before then, because this was a refinance in 2005.
It's a little scary from this perspective because when rates are low like this is when people should be borrowing money to do projects. The economic recovery hasn't, in this particular true for schools, the economic recovery hasn't really hit local governments. So
I haven't had a raise since 2012.
I've got a city that got downgraded 2 days ago, 2 series of bonds because they're backed by communication service taxes, which is technology taxes. Technology's getting cheaper, people are cutting cords.
Like our E-rate funds are going down, eco fees are going down. We need to find something to replace that revenue stream.
We're going to have to get some different politicians because I think right now an awful lot of people, an awful lot of financial interests out of it against this. Just my observation.
But that's one thing we're going to talk about today is we have closed down the charter school here. It was the first charter school to open.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, actually 6:02, so we're going to begin. At this time, I'd like to ask Chaplain Doug Maddie to please come and lead us in an invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Amen. Let's stand. The Bible says in Deuteronomy 6:5-8, that you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit down in your house, and you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them as signs on your hands, and they should be as frontlets between your eyes. The Bible says in 1 Timothy chapter 2, therefore I exhort, first of all, that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead quiet and peaceable lives in all godliness and reverence. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. Let's bow our heads in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we pray, Lord, right now, this invocation, Lord, this dedication, this consecration, Lord. We ask you to hear us, O Lord. Our plea, our petition, our cry out to you. We pray, Lord, for our superintendent, Addison Davis, and God, for just a year of excellence. The school board, Lord, Ashley Gilhausen, Janice Karakis, Carol Studdard, Mary Bola, Betsy Condon. Lord, all of the assistant superintendents, all those that are here at this front table tonight, Lord God, your blessing upon them. Lord, we pray that they will progress, go forward for our students' sake, Lord, and most of all, in doing everything that will please you. We pray for this meeting tonight, Lord. You know all the agenda. God, may they come together and solve properly and just graciously and effectively, we pray. God, this year of 2017 and 18, Lord, here it is before us now, and we pray that each student will be able to say that I'll never forget my principal. I'll never forget my teacher that taught me, that was practical, that was helpful, that was caring, that was motivating. We pray, God, that'll happen throughout Clay County. We pray for the administration, Lord, and every principal, every teacher, every parent, every child. We pray for those new to our community, Lord, parents that are just moving here, students that are just coming, Lord, that they'll find out this is a great county to be living in, a great county to be having your children in. It's a place where we all work hard and make wise choices, and God asks for your blessing. So we do that, Lord, and we thank you for your blessing on this evening and all that is said and done. In Christ's name we pray. And everyone said, Amen. We all say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chaplain Maddie is the chaplain for the Clay County Sheriff's Office. So we thank you for coming today. And please know that you are fine to leave. You do not need to sit through this meeting unless you choose to. Thank you very much. I now call to order the Clay County School Board meeting for August 3rd. Welcome, citizens of Clay County. We'll take this opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card which you will find located in the back of the room indicating the specific item, number, or topic you wish to speak about, and turn it in promptly. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the public comment section under presentations from the audience. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. We're doing something a little different tonight. Consensus of the board on our July 25th workshop was to move one of the items that we have on our agenda, which is the refinancing of our COP items, to the beginning of this agenda. So our financial advisor, John Ford from Ford & Associates, is present to answer any questions and help facilitate signing of these the required paperwork. And this is a refinance of COPs, which are certificates of participation, used to build this particular school, Fleming Island High School. We have an opportunity to reduce the interest rate, which will result in an overall savings of at least $500,000 for the remaining life of the loan. So this actually requires 2 actions. The first action of the Clay County School Board, and the second action by a separate entity, which is the Board of Directors of the Clay County School Board Leasing Corporation, which is also us. 5 of us are also the leasing corporation, which is comprised of the same individuals as are the school board members. And this will require the recessing the regular meeting and then convening a meeting of the leasing corporation. There are financial documents that then need to be signed after the board action that will require all board members' signatures. So at this time, item D8 is for the school board to consider adopting Resolution 17-03, authorizing the sale of certificates and participation, Series 2017, in a principal amount of not exceeding $9 million for the purpose of refunding all of the certificates of participation, Series 2005B, in order to achieve debt service savings. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval. I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. So now I'll recess the regular meeting and convene a meeting of the Board of Directors of the Clay County School Board Leasing Corporation. Mr. Ford, would you like to come and explain, if I haven't covered it, if there's anything you feel needs to be added to that?
Good evening, John Ford, Ford & Associates. No, ma'am, I think you did a really fine job. I don't have much to add. I would say that the transaction went very, very well. A few board meetings ago, you directed us and Dr. Legutko and finance staff to move forward with the refinancing. We went out to over 40 commercial banks and asked for loans with really, really good terms and conditions and interest rates attached to them. We got 10 responses back, which is very, very strong. I do a lot of financings where we get 3 or 4 or 5. So we're very, very pleased with that. A rate of a 171 as of this morning will result in savings of a little over $566,000.
Wow, that's
I know
just
Dr.
amazing.
Legutko's not here tonight, but she did a great job on this financing for you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Ford? No. All right. Well, we will take the next vote and sign everything, and we will hand it off to you. All right. So at this time, we're the leasing corporation now. Item D10 is to consider adopting Resolution 17-04, authorizing the sale of certificates of participation, Series 2017, in a principal amount of not exceeding $9 million for the purpose of refunding all the certificates of participation, Series 2005B, in order to achieve debt service savings.
Move approval. Second.
I'm sorry, who second? Ms. Bola, thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Studdard, a second by Ms. Bola. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
when I hit vote now, internal server error came up. It won't let me vote. Excuse me?
Mrs. Bush, could you just make a note that it was a 5-0 unanimous vote, and we'll move on? So at this time, I'm going to pass it to Mr. Davis to sign first. Resolution 1703 requires a signature from each of us, and the other one will require an initial from each of us. And Ms. Bush has tagged where we need to sign it. So.
Does it matter if it's blue or black ink?
I don't think it matters. I have a blue pen in my pocket if you'd like it.
Oh, I have black. Do you have blue?
I have black.
I have blue.
I thought you might want
Let's
blue.
use blue.
Thank you. Don't forget to get it back.
Can we share the pen? Thanks.
Make sure it works.
There you go. I think there's 2 spots. There's 2 copies of each here.
When I hit vote, it said internal server error in a red box right here.
We're going to do this for you.
Thank you. And I believe there's 2 copies, so Ms. Finley will need to get one of the copies. Thank you.
Just initial this first one.
Yeah, the first one gets initialed on 2 pages. right, thank you. At this time, we will adjourn the special meeting recess of the Board of Directors of the Clay County School Board Leasing Corporation and reconvene the regular school board meeting. We have no recognition and awards, so at this time, we'll ask our principal from Middleburg Elementary, Miss Becky Wilkinson, to come up and share some great things that are going on in your school. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Madam Chair, Synergistics was before.
Oh. Not on here, it's not.
Yeah, on this.
Oh, sorry. On mine, it was backwards. I'm sorry. All right. Mr. Bruce Harvin, would you like to come up and give us the presentation on the cost savings report for Synergistics?
Sure, I'm allowed to come up.
For the consolation prize.
That's right. Want to introduce Alicia Burris. Alicia's Vice President, Synergistics. She's also our Program Director, assigned to Clay County School District. As you all know, we partnered with Synergistics a year and a half or so ago. And again, this is part of the program, is to come to y'all, give y'all an update of the program and where we're at and where we hope to go. So about a 6-minute, it would take 30 minutes, about a 6-minute program she wants to present to y'all. So again, Alicia Burris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to present this evening. I want to first revisit the primary goals of the energy program, which is to maintain and improve comfort, eliminate energy waste, save energy dollars, and achieve an energy conservation culture that's sustainable for years to come in Clay County. The efforts to date, 3 dedicated energy specialists hired by Synergistic are provided here in Clay County. Energy specialists have completed 1,100 site audits of facilities countywide. They do a daily review of the district's building automation system and schedules, comprehensive training and analysis of billing history to identify conservation opportunities, and there have been 318 full-time equivalent days on site by Synergistic, either engineers, measurement and verification consultants, or technical consultants. Database and billing analysis for 196 utility accounts and 234 meters. So a day in the life of an energy specialist. They continually have a presence in the buildings. Now this presence may be at 2 in the morning, it could be at 2 in the afternoon. It depends on the need of the building to determine what conservation opportunities are available. They train one-on-one with Synergistic staff, which includes engineers, measurement and verification consultants, as well as technical support. Technical support would be with your building automation, your computer automated systems of your air conditioning and ventilation systems. They are also program building automation systems and work with maintenance to make sure that we're doing the best that we can with optimizing the schedules. They match conditioning times to the occupied times and work cooperatively with the maintenance in the field. They plan strategically for extended breaks and communicate with teachers and staff. And they promote the energy conservation culture. So our program current status, as of August 2017, Clay County Schools is 20 months into the energy program and the partnership with Synergistic. Key elements to this is the baseline, which is January through December of 2015. Baseline giving us the status and the energy use of each building in the county so that we can compare our efforts year to year. The quick start period being January 16 through June. It's a 6-month time period. Performance year 1 started July 16, and we are currently in performance year 2 of a 5-year contract. Now you'll note that we are in the April billing cycle. That is due to utility companies sending the bill being invoiced and paid. So there's usually a 2 to 3 month behind, lag on when we're doing the billing. And we also want to take time for our M&V, our measurement and verification staff, to verify that everything is clean with the database. And it also goes to our CPA on staff to verify that there's no anomalies within the database before billing. So program savings to date. We're looking at January 2016 through May of 17. Savings is $939,694. Now, with the Quick Start period, 100% of the savings generated was retained by Clay County Schools, which was $153,173. During Performance Year 1 to date savings, which is the $786,521, that started the shared saving portion of the program, which is a 50% split. So with the 50% that Clay County retained, as well as the Quick Start period, Clay County has retained $546,433.50 in savings so far. When we talk about energy conservation, mostly you'll hear us talk in terms of HVAC, your heating, your ventilation, and your air conditioning. And this utility distribution gives you a visual of why that discussion is usually centered around air conditioning. 88% of your utility cost is electric. And in Florida, the majority of that is air conditioning. So we really focus on how we're using air conditioning and where we can be strategic. There's really not a need to cool to 72 degrees at 2 in the morning for the desk in a classroom, so we can be strategic with changing that temperature and making sure we return to a comfortable temperature when students and staff return. If we look at not dollars, but if we look at our kilowatt hours, this slide shows us the electric reduction. So we're looking in the red line of 2016. Those are kilowatt hours used by the district, all electric utilities, and 2017 is the blue line. So we're making a reduction in overall usage. Those reductions account for environmental benefits. To date, in the program, we've saved 8 million kilowatt hours of electricity, the environmental impact of which can be measured by one of the following: slightly over 4,600 tons of CO2 reduced, removing just slightly less than 1,000 automobiles from the roads for a year, or planting slightly less than 120,000 tree seedlings for 10 years. So there's great environmental impact as well as the financial savings. One of those environmental components is working towards Energy Star. Currently, the energy specialists are working towards evaluating the data and the buildings for Energy Star building certification. Energy Star partnership demonstrates good stewardship of the environment, and it also validates the energy program at a national level. Moving forward, for the program, our goal is to meet or exceed the 20% savings expectation, maintain good stewardship of public funds, and continue to reduce the environmental impact, identify reduction opportunities with electrical and water consumption, plan and prepare for future shutdowns to achieve greater savings, and continuing to develop an energy conservation culture. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you, Ms. Burris. I actually have a question. Over the last probably year, we've had custodians come before us about the AC. What temperature do you set for our schools?
Most of the schools are set based on ASHRAE guidelines, which during the occupied time is 75 degrees for cooling. Then, in the evenings, there's a coasting period. When it goes to a setback mode, it will coast. And in working with Mr. Harvin as well as operations, we've ensured that it never coasts above the 78 to 80 degree mark during the time when custodial staff may be working in the evening. And we log that with data loggers, which take measurements anywhere between every 5 minutes to every hour. It depends on how you want to set it, but we can literally take measurements every minute if needed. For the data logger sits in the space, we can put it either near a teacher's desk or where a custodial may be working. We can log multiple spaces. It logs temperature, humidity, dew point, light levels, and we can log those for endless weeks at a time.
Can I ask a quick question? How many?
I wasn't
I'm sorry.
done.
I'm sorry.
I've had phone calls from people saying, it's freezing in my office, a secretary, I've got a heater under my desk. You know, it doesn't seem like there's consistency with it. Parts of the building are so cold that they're freezing, and other parts of the building are not getting any air at all. And
Absolutely.
so-
That's part of our partnership with maintenance. Synergistic being a conservation, we make recommendations, but we are not technicians ourselves, so the energy specialists are not able to manipulate or change a setting to a vent. If you have VAV systems, variable air volume systems in your school, that requires a maintenance technician, and we wouldn't impede upon their role in repairing and maintaining.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Bowley had a question?
Thank you. It was a follow-up to the data loggers that she was referring to. Just out of curiosity, do you know how many of those were requested or how many of those you set throughout the year?
Each specialist has about 15 data loggers.
And how many schools does each specialist cover?
Each specialist covers about 13 to 15 schools, I believe.
So one per school, basically,
Once per
if
full school, yeah,
needed
per
to.
school. During the summer, which is our most active period of not having people in every room every single day, we request that the specialist will log your high volume areas, your libraries, your cafeterias, your band or music areas where you have instruments or things that could be impacted by changes in the environment. We have them log those for 2 to 3 days at a time and rotate continuously through every school, so there's consistent logging each and every week of all schools.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you all gave us a summary breakdown by school, and it's pretty enlightening. And I just was wondering, the schools that haven't recognized as much cost avoidance, is that just a phenomenon of we haven't put as much focus because we only had 3 of these people, or what is the?
Okay, so there's going to be a couple of elements. When you look at cost avoidance and savings, it doesn't tell the whole picture, just like one day of testing doesn't tell the whole picture about a student. We'd have to also compare cost per square foot. So if you have a school that is performing and doing a lot of energy conservations beforehand, they're not going to have as much opportunity. Where you see some negative numbers, we may also have had some meters added that have not been adjusted yet. So part of the measurement and verification process is to take into account if during the base year we had 4 meters at a school and a meter's been added, we have to go through the proper channels to make sure that that meter is reflected and it's going to be validated. So we could have some times where we have some negatives for a short time. Or if we have a water leak, that tends to happen a lot.
Any other questions?
I believe, if I may, it also, if you look at the schools and the way that the schools have been built, for instance, SBJ is an open concept plan school. So the energy conservation or the energy consumption within that school will be very different from Coppergate, which is a relatively brand new school.
And if the board would like a breakdown, if you have specific years built or plans of schools, we can use the database to run reports based on design, if you would like that.
And through the chair, I just sent an email to Mr. Harvin, I'm sorry, that asked him, not only did this analysis, I appreciate it, because this can tell us what we're doing right in these schools to initiate conversations, but also to have conversation about what we can do better. But I'd like to look at not only years built, but also look at the size of the school, square footage, in order to do a comparative analysis, determine what are we doing well and who has offerings, so that we can do a deeper dive in order to continue to save money.
Absolutely.
So.
Would
Sorry,
also,
send that email.
potentially the age of the HVAC unit would probably factor in as well to your cost savings.
Yes.
Any further questions? Thank you, Ms. Burris.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Harvin, was there anything you wanted to add? You want to stay out of the hot seat?
He wants to email block me.
I just checked it, yeah, I'm gonna have you blocked.
Thank you. All right, now we'll have Principal Ms. Becky Wilkerson from Middleburg Elementary come up, and I apologize for calling out of order.
We're always flexible.
Thank you.
So good afternoon, Superintendent Avis and board members. I'm Becky Wilkerson, Principal of Middleburg Elementary School, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about my amazing school that I've been the principal of for 14 years. Mission Possible, Middleburg Elementary, our school, our mission, our students. Make sure this thing's on. There we go. Middleburg Elementary School is rich in history. We have a 79-year-old learning community. We have a rich history of strong academic achievement, well-behaved and respectful students, and exceptional parent and community support. We are a Title I school. MBE has a history of strong results. We've been a B school for the last 3 years in a row and also received highly effective VM ratings. We're proud of our hardworking students and teachers. In third grade ELA, we ranked 9th in the district with a 12% improvement. In fourth grade ELA, we ranked 9th in the district with an 8% improvement. In fourth grade math, we ranked 6th in the district with a 9% improvement. 2 of our teachers were recognized by the Department of Education as high-impact teachers for the growth they made with their students in math. One of those teachers received that honor 2 years in a row.
Could we have your teachers stand up? They're all back there. They just need to be recognized.
And they came out on their day off to a board meeting.
Thank you.
Incredible. So academic expectations and family and community engagement were the highest areas on our climate and culture survey, where we ranked above the district average. Beginning in March last year, our teachers, some of them back there, piloted the level literacy intervention program in kindergarten, and as a result, 84% of our students in kindergarten are entering first grade at or above grade level. The positive behavioral support systems we have in place in our school have led to a significant decrease in discipline referrals over the past 3 years. We decreased from 223 in the 14-15 school year to 197 last year. And we're going to do even better this year. Science proficiency improved. Keep forgetting I got to do that thing. Science proficiency improved last year by 4%, and we ranked 10th in the district. We have a dedicated science lab stocked full of engaging hands-on experiments aligned with the standards, and we offer a science club and an annual STEM parent involvement night. We have one-to-one iPads in grades K and 1 and one-to-one Chromebooks in grades 2 through 6. All teachers are Google certified, and most have attended code training. Our goal is this year to get everyone code.org trained, even in kindergarten. Our media center is the hub of our STEM initiative with maker spaces and a 3D printer. And in math, we offer an extended day Math Maniacs Club. We have a math team, and last year our 4th grade students earned gold medal at the math field day. While we have a lot to celebrate, we have opportunities for growth, and we have accepted our mission to improve teaching and learning. Last year's FSA data showed a deficiency in the gains made by our lower quartile students in both reading and math. We will focus on interventions and resources for our lower quartile students. We'll hold data meetings where we will track the progress of our students and really focus in on these lower quartile students. We're going to hold curriculum and instruction meetings with our teachers, coaches, guidance counselor, and our assistants, where we will dive into our standards and develop assessments, analyze and interpret the data, and plan differentiated small group instruction for these students. We're going to develop some model classrooms for each grade level in ELA and in math, and we're going to plan, analyze our data, target our interventions, and collaborate for the success of our mission. We will transform our classroom instruction by implementing the 4 principles of effective instruction. The culture of learning in our classrooms will be designed to fully engage students in rigorous content. Work assigned will require students to demonstrate understanding of the content and show that they are taking ownership of their own learning. We will strengthen our MTSS procedures, identifying all students who need support early on, and utilizing research-based interventions in small groups. We began this transformation last year as an early adopter of LLI and using iReady for our small group instruction. This year, we will strengthen our interventions with the adoption of SIPS, Achieve 3000, and Eureka Math in grades 3 through 6. MBE Pirates are actively involved in the success of this mission. We have a wealth of extracurricular activities: student council, safety patrol, math team, robotics club, track team, extended day clubs, chorus, and news crew. We are thankful for our teachers and our parent volunteers who make these opportunities possible for our students. They spend many hours after school, on weekends, and in evening performances and at competitions. They make MBE nothing less than the best. This message will self-destruct.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's cute. Thank you very much. Well, at this time, we have no scheduled citizens' requests, so it's the last call for cards if anybody would like to fill out a card and speak. and we will do presentations from the audience. Our first speaker is Laura Mayberry, followed by Miss Becky Smith.
My name is Laura Mayberry, patron saint of lost causes, and my address is on file. I promise I'm not going to talk about Blackboard tonight, though. As teachers, we often complain a lot about our salaries, but it's always done in abstract terms. And I think what's happened very recently with our insurance rates has shown us that we need to start putting some very concrete examples to things. So today I'm going to use my own salary as an example to explain to the board what our teachers have lived with over the last 6 years. So pretty sure nobody's going to want to marry me for my money after this. Or other reasons. In 2012, my monthly net pay was $2,890.22. In 2017, it was $3,041.40. That's an increase of $210 over 6 years. Not per year, over 6 years. So that means that my annual net salary has increased by a little over $2,500. Again, not $2,500 per year, but total. And I teach economics, which now I maybe have lost some validity with my kids given my chosen profession. That increase is a 7.44% increase over 6 years. And a lot of times we hear people say, well, that's better than nothing. The other people have it worse argument. But I would beg to differ because inflation over that same period of time has increased by 13.6%. So basically, I am 6.16% poorer today than I was 6 years ago. So 6% poorer, that's what I have lost in earning potential. I would need to make an additional $174.23 per month just to be even. So that's why I always complain when teachers talk about wanting a raise, we're not even getting a cost of living adjustment, much less talk about being better off. And something else to consider that I know a lot of our other teachers go through is that 10% of my pay is supplements, which require me to work outside of the contracted day to earn and are not guaranteed from year to year. When I checked the website this afternoon, there were 41 open instructional positions still posted. And I understand that once people see our insurance rates and once people see our history of a lack of raises, you know, they run the other way. They go to surrounding counties that are offering better. So it seems that it's not just our current employees that are very good at making data-driven decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayberry. Ms. Becky Smith, followed by Liz Crane.
My name is Becky Smith. My address is on file. Speaking to you tonight on behalf of CESPA and all you support people. My way of my speech just changed after hearing her. So I'm going to go down memory lane a little bit. I received a paycheck one time. Said I worked 62 hours to bring home a $3.93 paycheck. I can prove it. Matter of fact, I think all of you seen it. Majority of you people have seen it, even the newcomer, Miss Mary Bola, Mr. Davis. Our insurance has steadily went up. Our wages have not. You have got people out here working for you that I know personally that stand in church lines to get food. They work for you. You have workers that try to get low-income housing only to be turned away and told you don't make enough. All these people are guilty of is working, trying to do the best they can. There's drivers this year that lost junior highs. That means their hours got reduced. Insurance soared through the roof. How are they going to meet the need? How are we going to do this? The decisions you make as a board affect your people who work for you. Citizens of Clay County, hear me now. I am a proud bus driver who works for this district. I have a right to make a fair, livable wage. I have a right to be able to, if my child graduates from high school, to be able to buy that class ring, to be able to buy that announcement. I was in a place that I told my daughter, I'm sorry, I can't. You know how that makes a parent feel? To tell their child that? Their child did everything right. But I had to admit that. That affects your workers. Now, Becky believes that, like Mr. Davis has said, it's a new day in Clay. I believe that. Morales are changing. He has put leadership. Mr. Kemp's in office. Things have changed for transportation for the better. But there's much work to be done. We can work together to solve our problems. But we cannot allocate positions that we do not have funds from the state to pay for. That money has to come from somewhere. Think about this. That money that you had to cover that spots and those spots, that could be money to elevate your people. Talk about elevating Clay. Let's elevate Clay. Our kids deserve better. The kids deserve to have good quality teachers and bus drivers driving and transporting them for their safety. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Ms. Crane?
Thank you. Liz Crane, you have my address on file. I am the chairperson of the Insurance Committee, and today I'm speaking to you as an individual. 2 nights ago, I listened to the board discuss the insurance rate increases, and yes, our rates are increasing. The total cost to the board is increasing by 10%. However, when you calculate that rate down to the actual premium rates, dependent upon how many people are in the different plans, the cost to the individual employee can be higher than the 10%. There are things to consider when discussing insurance plans and rates. First, our roles. The insurance carrier's role is to sell insurance. While they may be sympathetic to the lack of funding from the legislature, they still have a job to do, and that is to sell insurance. The broker's role is to help the client negotiate the contract and often act as a liaison between the carrier and the client. Sorry, I lost my place. The client's role, you guys, is to provide a cost-effective insurance plan for the employees. The Insurance Committee's role is to review monthly experience reports, recommend invitation to bid to the board, and recommend approval plans. Our plan is a group insurance plan. That means if our employees are healthy, everyone benefits. If our employees are unhealthy, then we also pay for that. Second, loss ratios. This is the percentage of premiums to claims. A loss ratio kept at 75% or better would yield a flat renewal rate. A loss ratio creeping towards 85% and above would yield a trend renewal rate. Our loss ratio has steadily increased over the years. In 2014-15, it was 79.3, 15-16, 87.2, 16-17, 95.2%. In February, our loss ratio went up to 108.2%, and my understanding is that in May, our loss ratio is 113%. This is due to high plan usage. This is where you guys need to listen. Our large claim cost from October 2016 to January 2017 is over $861,000. This is 7 people, 7 individuals. The largest claimant is over $200,000. When we reviewed the data, we were also given the renewal rates that would have been without the 10% renewal rate cap. These rates are without negotiating. We didn't ask them to sharpen pencils or anything. United's recommended renewal rate at that time was 34%, while Aon felt at that time that the renewal rate should have been less than about 28%. Typically, in these types of negotiations, we land somewhere in the middle, and the rate increase would have been about 30%, is my guess, 30%. This calculation is due to the rising claim costs. With a loss ratio of 113%, United is taking a loss. While we can internally not feel bad for UHC, but remember their role, it's to sell insurance, we also looked at the possibility of plan design changes.
Let's turn the clock off. I'd like Ms. Crane to finish.
Okay. We decided as a committee that we needed to be able to compare one year to the next without the design changes. So we agreed to keep the plan the same and the 10% renewal rate cap. As you know, premium cost to the employee is dealt with in bargaining. I have done a very precursory review of the budget. I glanced at it, and looked at the salary and benefits item, and it appears that the budget right now is at status quo when it comes to compensation and benefits. So where do we go from here? For this year, for our employees, I encourage everyone, take advantage of the rally points. Go get that $200 back. Go and do those gift cards, do what you got to do to get that back. Also, if you visit our clinics, if you have a non-emergency illness or you need to visit, get blood work done, anything, go to the clinics, it's free. Okay. What I am observing, though, is we are in a constant cycle. We go out to bid to get new rates, we get the renewal rate, we ask the carrier to go lower, then the next year the renewal comes up again, we make design changes to lower the costs, then we come back again after another year, the rates go up, and we're going out to bid again. And because of that, we're unable to make those further design changes. If we make them even further, increase the premium rates or increase the, now I'm losing my train of thought here, the out-of-pocket expense and deductibles, it's not manageable. So we have gone, I asked this today, our school board, we have gone out to bid 3 times over the last 6 years. And that sends a message to the carriers. We are becoming a risk to them, and when they see that, they factor that into their costs because we don't have longevity. However, at this point, I really don't feel that the problem that we're having with insurance lies with the carrier, the broker, or even you guys. While I know that the board could raise the millage rates, historically you haven't, so I don't think that's going to happen. The problem lies with the legislature. The legislature is not doing its constitutionally mandated job to fully fund education. The problem is that we're not receiving enough revenue. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. And we also know that we have to transfer part of our FTE to those charter schools. So again, I'm asking you guys, and you, Mr. Davis, to continue to lobby the legislators, not just when you go to Tallahassee, because you guys know when you're in Tallahassee, they're busy, they're not really listening. Now, go visit them now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Did anybody have any questions for Ms. Crane before she goes back as the chair?
No, I just thought that was a fabulous presentation. I appreciated that information.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Wow.
Yeah. At this time, we will have the adoption of our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion by Ms. Bola, a second by Ms. Studdard. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And at this time, Ms. Piva, would you like to come up and give us an update on the Clay Education Association?
Good evening, Renlee Piva, President of the CCEA. I spoke in great length about insurance at the Tuesday's meeting, but I wanted to get back on a couple of things. The first thing is we had a discussion about Alachua. Alachua has been self-insured for 4 years. So they put up what we would have put up, which is $5 million on the catastrophic fund, and their catastrophic fund now stands at $12 million. So they've increased in 4 years their catastrophic fund from $5 million to $12 million. How do they do that? Well, one of the ways they did that is the board contributes for every employee, not just the ones that take the insurance. So their model is built that if you're the school board, you're going to contribute for every employee what you contribute. As you already know, they're $1,000 ahead of us on what we contribute, but they don't just do it for the people who take the insurance, they do it for every one of their employees. Whether they take family, doesn't matter. So that gives them a healthy catastrophic fund, and that's why they're functioning. They are no more or less sicker than we are. And I had great lengths. The person that sits, the president of the Alachua Teachers Union, is the chairman of the insurance committee over there. And so she's gone. She would love to talk to you guys, speak to you on how they set it up. And they only set it up 4 years, so it's not historical. Okay? We cannot continually look for carriers, because you're right, we are a risk if we look for carriers. We have to explore the possibility of being self-insured. There's no other way of doing this. We're self-insured for our workman's comp. Our workman's comp catastrophic fund a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, was missing its $4 million. It had to have $4.1 million. I think, Mr. Davis, wasn't that it? $4.1 million. All of a sudden, we got the $4.1 million from the teacher's salary lapse. Salary lapse, remember, we lose 300 teachers at the top of the scale, and we hire 300 teachers at the bottom end of the scale. That is always around a $15-16 million the lapse, and that's always a nice little place to use money, which Dr. Legetko used to bail out the Workman's Comp Fund. In a blink of an eye, $4.1 million from that fund. We have it somewhere, because you have the same salary lapse right now. When you start hiring, we have 41 teachers openings right now. I'm pretty sure you're not bringing them up at the top of the scale. So what we have in the line item for salaries and benefits is over what we're going to spend, and we already know that now. I'm going to leave that with you. We're still going to talk about it. We're asking teachers to come out in the September school board meeting before you approve this budget to talk about insurance. If the employees of this place is supposed to take on the insurance, it's going to be $700, $680-some that we're taking. So that's our zero. So any increases for salary is above $700 for the teachers to be whole, and God knows about the support personnel. So that's where we're at. The other thing that maybe we need to take a look at, I also brought up last time on Tuesday about our out-of-field new hires that we're hiring. And I said I didn't see any other options but to do that. We have a teacher shortage in the state of Florida. We can stick our head in the sand, pretend we don't, but we do have a teacher shortage in the state of Florida. And we're going to hire out-of-field, and I think Duval has like 200 openings, and they'll be hiring out-of-field. Well, here's a news flash. We have people in drop that are willing to stay on. The state legislators allow you to keep them 3 years over their 5 years of drop. There's experienced veteran teachers that are willing to stay on and fill your gap of hiring out-of-field teachers. So I'd like to put that in front of the school board. The third thing I'd like to put in front of the school board, of course, is the CCEA supports Mr. Davis on his opposition to 7069 and all the superintendents. And I know it's in front of you in the discussion section, but we would love to see you join the lawsuit against this law. This law is nothing but an underminement of public education. There is nothing good that's happened. There are some good parts of it, sure, yay, highly effective teacher's going to get a bonus. Bonus means nothing to teachers. Bonuses are not lifetime income. So 3 years from now, when, as Ms. Mayberry talked about inflation, and the cost of living, 3 years from now, those same teachers are going to make what they make now. So for 3 years, we're asking them to accept nothing. Of course, those are just bonuses. We're still negotiating on salary. So we would ask you, the CCA formally asks you to join the lawsuit and oppose 7069 because we believe it is absolutely unconstitutional, just like a few of our senators believe. Okay, that's all the bad stuff. Let me talk about some good things. The CCEA, along with CESPA, is launching a campaign along with the AFT, which is American Federation of Teachers, and the First Book, to bring 40,000 books into Clay County for free. So we're extremely excited about this. We have received the support of Mr. Davis and the district staff, and this is how it works. I can tell you so far, how much of this adventure we're put ourselves out for. We need 2,000 signatures from administrators, teachers, parent volunteers, everybody in the county that are connected with Title I schools. So we're asking the principals of Title I schools to go out. They've got 300, I've copied it all off, applications. We're going to ask them to go out there, get their teachers, their administrators, their parents to sign up, and the CCA will load them up into AFT's website. And if we get the 2,000 signatures, then 40,000 books are ours for free. The books are from age 1 to 18 years old. They are current books, they're brand new books, they're not surplus books, they're books that will excite the kids to read. And that's what we're all about. This is a union event. We are extremely pleased. We are a few counties. We actually competed with other counties to get this, and we kind of won. We won that, yes, you can go ahead and do this, and with the endorsement of the FEA. The event will be held as long as we get our 2,000 signatures, and if we don't get our 2,000 signatures, I got a plan B. We're going to have this event. We're bringing these books to you, Mr. Davis, in this school system. This event's going to happen at Green Cove Springs Junior on October 14th. The tractor trailer comes in on October 13th, and we got a multitude of about 65 teachers who are going to level the books from age 1 to age 18. We then invite every public school teacher in our county to come and collect between 50 and 100 books for their classroom libraries. We invite every parent in the county that child goes to public education, public school, to come and pick up 10 to 20 books per kid. So they can come get 10 to 20 books per kid, come to Green Cove Springs in the gym. Still got a little bit of work to do because I want to make sure we safeguard that brand new gym floor that's just been done, and with everything, come and pick up their books. And of course, we're trying to reach as many people as we possibly can. So CESPA has volunteered their bus drivers. We're going to bus from all our Title I schools. So from Clay Hill to Keystone, everywhere throughout the county, S. Brian Jennings, W.E. Cherry, the bus drivers have agreed to do it for free. Mr. Davis has agreed for the buses and the gas from the district, and we're going to bus those families in and run it as a timetable in there so that those families can come in. Now, great support from Ms. Jen Halter, who's the principal there. We're going to have bouncy houses. We're going to have face painting. We're also going to have all the Miss Florida and Miss whatever, because we have teachers that are involved in that. So all those little tiaras will be running around. I will not have one on.
But you're the queen.
I knew Mr. McCauley wanted me to say that, but anyway, he's not even paying attention. He's just reading over there. But anyway, we're going to go ahead. And he's not paying attention. He can't. It's all right, McCauley. We are extremely, extremely excited about this. We are also going to bring the food trucks in. If you know Green Cove Springs, we're going to run that road of food trucks and invite the food trucks to come in. I am also going to reach out to the Quigley House and to the police and the fire and the YMCA's for books. As a retired police inspector, and I ran a division, there are times that little kids are involved in very bad situations, and if they have a nice little picture book to sit in the back of a cruiser with, it makes all the difference in the world to them. So we are going to reach out to the police and the fire and everybody else in the community. I didn't do it. Don't charge me. Okay. So that's what we're doing. We have a committee. Mr. Davis has given me a district person on the committee. Ms. Carragus, if you would like to give me a school board person on the committee, I would love it. So you're all in touch and you can communicate with each other. This is strictly, I'm not asking for money from anybody. This is a union event. If we don't get these signatures, I will bring that truck in and I will eat the money for it to do that. Not you, I will. Okay, I already got other things planned for you, but anyway. So we're extremely excited about this, and I think, Dolly Parton was very big into first book and, and all that stuff. And what we don't want is books left over. So we are very generous. If we run out of books, I'd be the happiest person in the world at the thought that 40,000 books are in this county, and it comes to you via the CCEA, CESPA, AFT, and the FEA. Thank you very much.
Ms. Piva, do you know the hours yet?
Oh, yes. On the 14th, we're thinking 9 to 10 will be teachers. We'll block off 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And of course, my committee meets for the first time next week. But these are the things that I brainstormed with Ms. Halter and my directors. So the teachers, they'll probably have to show their pass that they are a district employee. They can come in, get between 50 and 100 books for their classrooms. And then we'll open it to the public, so from 10 to 4. Because it'll take about time, I need to have kind of like 4 to 5 to make sure that we clean up everything. And after the principals will be asked somewhere in September to go ahead and let's talk to parents to make sure the parents understand so we can run some sort of bus schedule. So all that's very fluid because we don't know how many buses we need or any of that stuff, but we are absolutely sure, and CESPA has been kind enough to volunteer their bus drivers without being paid. They'll go ahead and do it. So we're extremely excited. It's a huge venture. St. John's wanted it. Haha, they didn't get it. So we got them.
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
A little louder. Yeah.
They did want it, believe me. They were there, and I cried louder than them. So thank you very much.
Ms. Piva, while you were talking, Mrs. Studard's over here raising her hand.
I want to
So
do it.
if it's okay with the board, we'll assign Ms. Studard as your committee member.
Absolutely.
And I'll bet you, I'm not speaking out of turn, I bet you have 5 volunteers right here.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited. We think that we'll get the parents, because my biggest worry, because it's a
bless
school
them.
day, my biggest worry is getting these, we need about 60 to 70 is what AFT recommends to level the books. And how you level the books is you have a cell phone, there's an app for that, and you just see the title, you say, okay, 150 books, 3 years old, going that section.
The 14th is a Saturday.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, but you said it's a school day. What it?
14th, the 13th
13th.
is when we have to unload the tractor trailer. I volunteered the PE teacher at Green Cove to spend the night there because you must have security, so Doug's our security. He's staying with the books. There is a lot of, a lot of requirements that we did, because we're protecting 40,000 books. That's a lot of money. There, and we want them out because God knows I do not want to store these books. So we'll be giving those books out, I can assure you.
Ms. Piva, where do these books come from? Who's
They
giving
come
them?
from publishers. So I was looking, because I am going to ask my board to donate $4,000 and get about another 8,000 to 9,000 more books, and let teachers handpick the books they want to see on the truck, because you can't guarantee what's on the truck. But I can subsidize that and guarantee certain books. So I can say, I want 400 books that is frozen, because all the kids like that little book or whatever. Or some of the novels, some of the higher novels for 17 and 18-year-olds, So we can guarantee some books on there. I haven't quite talked to my board about that, but that's kind of like, I actually said to my executive director to go ahead and run the list so I can send it out to teachers and say, what do you absolutely love to see in that truck? And Betsy said to me, do you know how many books there are? And then I went on the website, and there are literally thousands. And I went, well, I'll get the teachers to look on the website, and if they really want something, I will subsidize that and put a few more thousand books.
Tell us again how you found out about this.
It's AFT has done it. American Federation of Teachers have done it for years and years.
Okay.
The trick is you have to have Title I. These have to be Title I teachers, parents, administrators, and parent volunteers. So we realize the fact that not all our Title I parents have computer access, so we've actually done the application form. They will go ahead, fill it out. We're going to ask the principals to get that out on their open house. orientation. So the parents, if you volunteer 1 hour in that school, which mostly every parent has done 1 hour in the school, you can go ahead, fill it out, come back to us. My committee is going to Ridgeview High School, and we've taken over the media center, and we're going to upload that. If I can schedule 2,000 kids in their schedules as a guidance counselor, I can upload 2,000 signatures. So that's our plan, so we won't have to have parents struggling with the website, or maybe they're not as computer savvy as my committee is. And they'll go ahead and upload that, and as long as we get 2,000 signatures, then we get the books for free. Okay, if we don't get 2,000 signatures, they are not for free.
What's the website that has the books that the teachers can look at?
Betsy, is it First Book or is it AFT? It's First Book / AFT? Yes.
.com, I'm guessing. Firstbook.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll send it to you because I don't remember offhand. It's not really, we really don't want parents and teachers to do it first because we need to get credit for them. Like there's already 87 Clay. You're going to blow your mind when you go look at this because you actually pay only shipping. You can get 45, 50 books and only pay $7 shipping fee. Wow. You know, they really do. It's out there and hardly anybody uses it or knows about it. We have 87 people from Clay County already registered, but we don't get credit for that 87 people. So I don't want anybody to register yet because I want to make sure that the rest of the people that register, we get credit for it so AFT can say, yep, you got the tractor trailer.
When you've got that active, can you send the link so that if we have questions about where to go, we know
I
where to send
absolutely
them?
will.
Thank you.
And Ms. Paiva, before you leave, can we as board members contribute financially to you're raising $4,000 or asking your board for $4,000? You know, I'll gladly write you a $200 check. Can you do that? Can we do that?
I don't think that that's a problem. I think that my people are so excited about doing that, and I just need to know what we need to do and which books we are. But you know, I don't like turning down money in public. But it's in private. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
It's such
but
a nice
thing. It is
great.
absolutely. I am very protective that this is a union thing, and everybody's to know it's a union thing. And it's been my dream for 4 years to do it, and everything always got in the way. And gosh knows it should be in the way right now in my life, but it's not going to.
Oh, I know you've been talking about this for a while, and Mr. Davis has offered to help Mr. Dieters on the security detail.
We have to call risk management first.
Yeah, because we know you don't sleep, so you'll be dunking the basketball in that new gym.
He would probably kick me out halfway through.
That's funny. Well, I don't see Ms. Dixon here. Is there anybody who'd like to give us an update on CESPA? No, okay, thank you. Superintendent, do you have an update for us?
Okay, so, after meeting with Cabinet, they talked me out of having a PowerPoint presentation tonight, so, everybody's clapping. The going bet is how many slides will Addison Davis have, and usually it's between 15 to 27, and we talked for, I talked for a very long time. But I will say this, this week is the last 4-day weekend, and we have individuals that want to travel tonight, so I'm going to keep it very brief, and I'm only going to go on notes. Thank you for everyone. I've received a number of emails in reference to the insurance current issues, or kind of where we are. And I will say that I did have a chance to reach out to the CEO of United Health, had a real good conversation with him today actually, about what we could potentially do. The issue is, and Ms. Crean talked about it, directly, is that there would have been an opportunity to have some balance or some reduction in that percentage increase, but the claims that we had this past year really have hindered us and really have hindered them in making adjustments. He did say he really values our partnership, and I believe he's very sincere in that conversation. But it goes to a part where he said the great thing the committee did was put a 10% cap, because he honestly said this should have went to 30 to 40% increase in reference to the increase of the premium. I told him I am truly committed to working to make certain that we can help him in this process to have greater focus on wellness in our school district. Not only were that mental health wellness, but physical wellness as well. So I will continue to work with Mr. McCauley's shop in the climate and culture to see what we can do to better support our employees and put us in a better situation to better compensate or look at this insurance situation that we're currently in. I know that we have a number of teachers that have reached out in reference to their points as we transition from Navigator Plus to Track. I want every teacher to know that your points are banked and they're ready to go. There's just a inconsistency looking at because this transition to this system has been difficult for us. I know it may be difficult for you as well, but we're really making certain that your points are there and your bankable points are showing up. Please be patient with us as we push our partnership to make sure it's live for you over the next week, but our PD department is truly on it to really help you and to make sure that you get every class that you attended to make sure you are prepared for certification. On top of that, 2 more things and I'm out of it and we can transition to the meeting. Exciting time. We always celebrate the end of the school. And as superintendent, we must start and begin to celebrate the beginning of the school year. I am really excited for this launch of the school year. And I will say I know that teachers had a really great time in the summer, and I know they're geared and ready to come up and setting their alarm clocks to come back and dive into teaching and learning. But I will tell you this. I stand prepared to support each of you. Your leaders are excited. They're ready. They're ready to work side by side you versus from a top-down approach. And this board is committed to helping me and you and everyone in the system support staff to make sure we have a flawless opening. So I look forward to everybody coming back on the 8th. And I look forward to an outstanding school year for the 17-18 school year. And last thing, Ms. Paiva, I will tell you openly, the great questions, where did you find the first book? I wish I would have found it first. But at the end of the day, I'm not competitive at all. But hats off to you for your legwork, because as I walk classrooms in my first 7-8 months here as superintendent, I realize there's a great need for classroom libraries. And for you and your team to go out and bring additional resources for our students, that's awesome. I mean, I honestly can't afford to buy 40,000 books. So what you have done by bringing this initiative, we will openly support you. And this board will be, I'm not only speaking, they're ready and excited, I can tell you. She said you had 5 people supporting you, 6. Yeah. It's 7, 8, 9, 10. He's not awake. 11, 12, 13. We're ready to go. The only thing we got to do is I got to get with Kemp, because if I ruin that floor, I'm going to be out of gas. So, he's ready. So we'll get it ready to rock and roll. But you know what? Thank everyone for being here. Thank you for an awesome summer. Let's be energized and ready to go. And I look forward to seeing everyone in our classrooms. Here we go.
That was probably a record quick.
I know.
Thank you.
Probably lost a lot of money on that one. Someone did.
Yeah. That was great. Well, we move into our discussion agenda. First item on our discussion agenda is item D1, to appoint 1 board member and 1 citizen to serve on the 2017 Value Adjustment Board. We already have Ms. Condon as our board member. Last month we discussed and we said we would bring it back this month. So if anybody has any suggestions, now's the time. Don't all speak at once.
Go ahead.
I have a volunteer
All right,
who has reached out to me, Leslie Dewar,
okay.
who is a realtor here in Clay County. She has, I think when we first spoke about this last month, Ms. Kerkis, you encouraged us to consider people who obviously were employed in the county and had some experience with housing. Well,
There is a criteria. It has to be a, business partner, landowner, somebody who has some kind of incorporated business here in the county.
She has all of the above, so.
That would be great. Were there any others? Study, you had something? No? All right. If everybody's in agreement through consensus, or I guess we have to actually adopt it. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve Ms. Leslie Dewar as our citizen member for the 2017 Value Adjustment Board.
I'll move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Gilhouse and a second by Ms. Studdard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Dewar.
Our next item is item D2. I have one card on that. Item D2 is a modification of education impact fee collection. Mr. Jesse Spradley.
I guess I timed that well. I just walked one of my members outside. Well, I'm Jesse Spradley, 103 Century 21 Drive, Jacksonville, Florida. I'm here representing the Northeast Florida Builders Association and the Clay Builders Council. I just want to first off say I appreciate School Board Member Karakis for taking up this issue. As you may or may not know, they are bringing back, as builders, we deal with impact fees. We've had a school impact fee in the county for quite a while. They are reinstating the transportation impact fee. And the reason we're here asking for this, to move the collection period from permitting back to the when the electric is turned on, is because that is when the county is going to do it. We've been trying to get the fee back to when the actual impact occurs. That impact doesn't occur until someone's actually living in that house. That would happen at CO. Unfortunately, there's not a real way for the county to stop somebody from living in the house without a CO, but you're probably not going to live in the house without electric. So that is why they have chosen that spot. It is a huge financial relief. This isn't really relief for D.R. Horton or Mattamy. The guys this is for, there were 59 builders last year that pulled permits in Clay County. Of that, 48 of them built 10 or less homes. It's that 48 that you're helping, those local builders. So I would just encourage you to please support this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Spradley. I've actually put this on the agenda because I felt that it was important that we look at this and we do something to help our local builders. I believe this modification will just provide some relief. You know, we've looked at this for years. We've not raised the impact fee. We've always been very consistent with it. We understand there's a need for it. So I'd be happy to pass the gavel and make the motion myself, unless there's another board member that would like to make the motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Mrs. Studdard, a second by Ms. Condon. Any discussion? No?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Bola?
I would like to say something. We have just started building a school. And even though it's my understanding that this would be a 4-month delay in acquiring these impact fees, I don't know that we want to put a blip, for want of a better word, in our financial system at this point. I would like to see us help the builders as well, most definitely. However, I would like to wait until November 1st of 2018 to make that decision, because by then we will have our school built, we will have our desks in place, we will be open and running, and I'm out of time.
You don't have, there's no timer for you.
Thanks a lot.
I think Ms. Dennis is having some fun over there. Ms. Bola, please continue.
The bottom line is, I think putting this off for a year, and I understand, I spoke with Mr. Spradley today, and we discussed that, and it's one of those situations where we're trying to be financially, fiscally sound, and even a 4-month delay, when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in a month, that can make a huge difference to what we're doing. And I am totally for this. It happens to be 10 years since we built our last school. We've not had to deal with this question. It came up, the timing really stinks, sorry. But I would like to see us do this, but I would like to put this off until, as I said, November of 2018.
Well, I appreciate your comments. I think from what Mr. Spradley told me, normally the electricity goes on at day 60, between 60 to 90. So hopefully it won't be 4 months. It'll be more like 2 and maybe 3. But I understand what you're saying, that each month there's a substantial amount of money. I just feel that this is the right time because it is coming to our county commission, and they are wanting to reinstate the transportation impact fee, and that's, I don't remember the exact number, it's in the $5,000 range, and that's the formula for the collection that they're going to use for theirs. I would hate to see our impact fees be discontinued for any reason at all, and so I think it's important that we show support to the county commissioners in also that we are willing to accept the collection method that they are, and it's really what, it's important. And those small builders out there, like Mr. Spradley said, that, they're only building 5, 10, 20 houses. The impact on them is much greater, and so if we can help alleviate some of that, maybe they'll be building 30 and 40, and we'll collect that much more. So
I would tend to agree with you. I also think it shouldn't be lost on our community that it wasn't just a few years ago that we were in a real bind with our fund balance. And I have to say, the builders in the building community were supportive of us. They would like to ask us to do away with impact fees and look at something else, but they didn't do that during that time because they understood that the school district was in a bind. And so I feel like if we can help them out a little bit, I understand the delay, but we also have a delay with property taxes. If someone gets their property tax bill in November, they have until March to pay their bill legally. It goes up a little bit, but they legally have that right, and our builders don't have that ability to delay that. And I really think the only people who win when the money sits for that long is actually the banks.
Yes.
Because the banks are collecting interest on this. I would tend to agree. I do recognize it, but
well, and let's remember, there's no impact on any of our schools at that point. There's nobody living in the home until, at least the power goes on, if not, after the power goes on, because there's still construction going. So in those first 60, 90 days, there's no impact to any of our schools.
When is the county commission implementing their change in collection?
I believe they're voting on it in September.
And will it be implemented immediately following, or is that?
Mr. Fossa, do you know the exact date of when they will implement that? Would you mind coming to the mic? And we're glad you're here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. I don't know the exact, I believe it's going to be October 31st. That's when it would go into place.
Okay. And I guess that's their fiscal calendar starts in October?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Yes, ma'am. And through the chair, I would say that it's the board's decision, the direction in which we go. I would agree that with Ms. Bola in the sense that we agreed to build a school for 17-18 and do it in a manner that's debt-free. We, to date from December 2016, we pulled, I think there's around 397 permits that have pulled, and of those permits, I think that it's roughly around $2.9 million. And this pushback would push us back a little bit. Therefore, kind of putting us in maybe a financial strain in reference to completing the build with money internally. It also, if we push this back 4 months, it will also could potentially hurt our cash flow that we currently have if something could happen. I know we do have a reserve, but I would say that I would too agree with Ms. Bola in the sense that if we could push it for a year, it would be better for us, for our build and for our financials. But then I seek the board's direction in reference to what you want to do.
How much would it put us in that negative position?
Well, you don't know if it's 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, from a 4-month, I think it's going to be around $2.8 million. Dr. Kemp, sorry, I could be wrong.
4 months.
It's not 4.
Mr. Superintendent, just to clarify, 397 permits were pulled since December 2016. We averaged, if you put an average, that's about 67 permits per month. That actually equates to $471,546 in impact fees we receive on average per month that we use to project for projects and for new growth. So 2 months is, if it was a 2-month delay, you're talking $943,092. If it's a 3-month delay, that's right at $1.4 million. If for some reason there was a 4-month delay, which I personally believe that it could be up to 3 to 4 months, would be right at $1.8 million. Even up to 6 months for some particular reason, it could be 2.2. Now,
I completely sympathize with the builders. I understand completely what it is. Just so happens we're building a school, and it's a timing issue, but, it is $471,546 that we have projected as revenue, as a steady stream of revenue coming in for us to complete the project, including Elementary Y. So I was recently asked, and I'll share this with everybody, what's the impact, and based on what we've saved, we've been very good stewards with the impact fees to roll that up, and we have an available budget of about $18.7 million that have rolled in the impact fees. We remember Elementary Y is being purchased with impact fees and LCIF dollars, so we have an FFE budget of about $3 million that's going to be going into that school. So the projected construction cost for Elementary Y, as you're aware, was $20.8 million, another $3 million for FF&E, so it's $23.8. What we have available right now, as we speak, is about $21.7, so that puts us about $2.1 in collections that we're going to be needing for the revenue. So it is 400, no matter how you look at it, and I agree. We're going to get the money eventually. The money will come to us eventually, and I absolutely support making a change in the fall of 2018. My concern with the task that you've given me, Mr. Superintendent, and the board is we have to build an Elementary Y on time and under budget, or actually before time and under budget. So, we expect a temporary CO no later than July 1 of 2018. Our last invoicing possibly for that school, Elementary Y, we anticipate in September, late September 2018. We could even look at an October 1 or as long as we did in fall of 2018. I'm 100% in support of changing the revenue stream to support all the builders at that time. It's just so happens we're counting on that revenue stream to build Elementary Y.
But it sounds like we're right on schedule with $21,700,000.
And we're going to be under budget, right?
And you know what? And yes, they said we're going to be under budget. So at $471,000 a month, we will make that.
I appreciate.
So I think if we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. I think we need to postpone it because I don't believe we'll bring it back and handle it in a year. So I feel strongly that this is the time for us to take care of it. And
Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Ms. Gilhousen? Okay. I just want to, I understand what Mr. Kemp is saying. I understand what Mr. Davis said. But now, I feel like we're okay on Elementary Y. We're going to come in ahead of time and under budget.
Ms. Gilhousen called it.
Dr. Kemp called it. I was just repeating what he said.
But the other thing, I'm thinking about and we use that impact money not only to build schools, but to pay our debt service. But then I was sitting here thinking about the citizens in Clay County. And I haven't been watching the county commission meetings. I don't really know what they're doing, but I'm hearing y'all say that they're getting ready to put in some kind of an impact fee. So you have a citizen here in the county, and, every 4 years when we run for re-election, we go before the builders, and they, usually want you to, will you get rid of those impact fees, and you have to say, no, can't do that. We've got debt to pay. So sometimes you don't get their endorsement. But you have to do the right thing. Now, if I was coming into Clay County and I wanted to build a house, we've already got our school impact fee. Then you're telling me the county commissioners are going to add one in there. So, at first it was talked about, why don't y'all just reduce your impact fee? Well, we can't afford to do that. We just cannot even think about doing that. Then someone had called and proposed, another way of doing it, attached to the mortgage. It was going to be forever, and we really can't do that. But when this came up, and it would delay perhaps, I'm going to say 3 months. I'm hearing 2, 4, so let's just say 3 months in the payment. But then if the county commissioners do come in and add an impact fee, the people in this county are getting hit by another impact fee, and the smaller builder is who he's talking about. at least this would be a way for us to show that we are trying to to cooperate. I don't know, I wish I knew more about what the county commissioners' ideas are and their plans are, but and someone told me that the county commissioners were looking at collecting at electric turn-on. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, well then that would make us be more in line with their thoughts from what I'm hearing. But, delaying it a year, of course, we'd love to have the money, but I think I can go ahead and support this right now.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Did you make a motion to amend my motion, Ms. Bola?
No.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to weigh in on, just to bring clarity. What we're doing here, as I understand it, is voting on a recommendation to modify the point of collection, correct?
Right.
And that's what my motion was.
And when it goes into effect, and that is immediately. That's what I get from the discussion.
I'll restate the motion
Sure.
so that you'll understand and that Ms. Bush has it exactly. But the motion is to approve the proposed modification of the collection of the education impact fee so that the fee becomes payable at the time permits are pulled to turn on the electricity at the house as opposed to when they begin the initial discussion, which is the way it had been. When they first go to pull the very first permit, impact fee was collected at that time. So that's what we'll be changing it to. Did you have any further comment? Okay, thank you. All right, so that was the motion. Mrs. Studdard made the motion, Mrs. Condon seconded it. No further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. Motion carries 4-1 with Ms. Bola dissenting. And Mr. D'Agata, I'd like to ask you to please draw up an official legal notice on behalf of the school board for us to send to the Board of County Commissioners, and you can notify me when it's ready and I'll get with you.
Would you like that in the form of a resolution or
No,
just notice?
No, it's not a resolution, just a legal notice on behalf of the school board. Thank you. All right, our next item is to authorize the challenge to the constitutionality of House Bill 7069. I added this to the agenda. Well, actually, at the urging of our attorney, this is the second month in a row that he has wanted an item placed on the agenda, and our policy changed a few years back by the majority of the board that the attorney does not have the authority to put an item on. So I've added it after discussing it with him. And we all know House Bill 7069, how it affects us, and that other districts are joining a lawsuit challenging this. So, Mr. D'Agata, would you like to speak on this? Thank you.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. Exactly as the chair summarized, really I wanted to present to the board in a timely manner an opportunity to weigh in and to be part of a potential collective action. There has been great discussion really among the school board attorneys throughout the state following the passage of what's known as House Bill 7069, and really what it is it affected at least 70 different sections of the education code. And I think that Mrs. Paiva summarized some of the upheaval that this caused. Broward County sent the opening salvo among school board attorneys whether boards would be interested in challenging various aspects of House Bill 7069. And we have been discussing it over the course of several weeks. Last conversation was about an hour before this meeting. At this point, there are 5 boards who have committed funding to bring a collective action. to challenge the constitutionality of various provisions. Those are Broward, Bay, Lee, St. Lucie, and Volusia. Anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000.
Would you repeat those five again? Broward,
Sure.
Dade, Lee?
Broward, Bay, Lee, St. Lucie, and Volusia. 10 other boards are considering it that I know of. And I learned, or I understand from all of our conversations among the school board attorneys, that Orange, Dade, and Hillsborough are on the cusp of deciding whether they're going to commit. That is important for several reasons. Let me just kind of summarize really the constitutional, the areas that I think are going to be likely involved in this collective lawsuit. The constitutional challenges will really focus on many of the charter school provisions, which one could argue erodes and offends the constitutional authority of school boards throughout the state, insofar as taxing authority, spending authority, and contract rights. I think those are the three biggies. And with taxing authority, essentially, the state has made a decision for you on behalf of school boards throughout the state as to what you're going to do in separating and providing from ad valorem taxes, what you'll be providing to charters. You're being told that's offensive to the Constitution. Spending authority, there's been great discussion about capital outlay. There's also caps imposed. You need to provide services to the to charters, but you can't collect all of the fees and charges that you actually incur in providing these services. That is offensive to your spending authority. And then with respect to contract rights, I think this is the lowest hanging fruit, personally. There is a standard, there will be a standard contract for charters that all school boards must comply with, and any type of modification to the standard created by the Department of Education will be presumed to be a violation of the flexibility the Florida legislature has wanted to commit to charters. And finally, there's Schools of Hope. There's been a lot of controversy and discussion about that. Some have even said that it creates an unlawful parallel school system. That is, one that is essentially private but free of all of the obligations imposed by the Education Code. So where are we now? Well, I wanted to bring it to the board's attention because I believe that if suit is going to be filed, it'll probably be filed in September. And those boards who have committed funds to the collective action are obviously going to have the greatest influence on what the claims are, who is sued, and for what. If you bring a challenge as to the constitutionality of a statute just on its face, that is more economical than proving that the law is unconstitutional as applied. Where it's as applied, you have a whole bunch of discovery and so on and so forth. So one would want to have some input on what type of claims are advanced. I believe that the costs to go through trial level, to get to a judgment at trial, and I think the consensus is among school board attorneys, appeal is inevitable by one side or another, whoever gets a judgment against them. We believe that, or I've concluded that it's probably going to be somewhere in the vicinity of $300,000 to $400,000 in attorney's fees and costs to get to judgment at the trial court level, and I think that it's going to be probably up to $200,000 or more in appellate costs because there's so many issues that would go from the District Court of Appeal right to the Florida Supreme Court. So we're at a crossroad here. I wanted the board to have an opportunity to be part of, if it wishes to be part of a collective action, to make that decision such that it can participate in the selection of one law firm, representative counsel, instead of, virtually hundreds, and sharing in the fees and costs. I think that school board attorneys representing smaller counties, counties of our size and much smaller, are encouraged that, in addition to the 5 that I just mentioned, who have already put in $10,000 to $25,000 each, it's my understanding that Orange County, Dade County, and Hillsborough County will be deciding whether they're going to commit by the end of this month. That is meaningful insofar as dollars and cents, because I think where we're going to go, those school boards who are going to be part of a collective action have got to figure out who's going to be responsible for what insofar as the cost of legal fees and expenses. And I really think that what they'll end up with, whoever takes part in this, will probably pay on a pro rata share based on the enrollment figures. Okay, we obviously have much lower enrollment than Dade County, Orange County, Hillsborough. Those larger counties would take the lion's share of the costs if the parties agree that we're going to pay based on a pro rata share on enrollment figures. And I do think that that's where we're going to go. That's really what I wanted presented, and I thank the board chair for placing it on the agenda.
All right, thank you. Before we discuss it, I realize I have 2 cards. Ms. Donna Mace, followed by Mr. Travis Christensen. I apologize, sir.
I'm Donna Mace, and my other information's on file. I'm here tonight to represent 2 teacher activist groups, Florida Bats and We're Red for Ed. Both of these groups are committed to fighting for traditional public education. Most of what I was going to say, I don't think I need to. It's been brought up and discussed already by other people. I thank Ms. Karakis for placing this on the agenda. I would like to cover the fact that as we've been speaking with board members in other districts, they have expressed fear of retaliation from Tallahassee. If you've been watching the news, you've been reading about that. I personally don't believe that retaliation could be any worse than what's already happening to us. The damage being done is terrible, and then somewhere today between 3 and 6 when I got here and talking to other activists online, we realized that what has just happened with the charter school here could be deliberately done. You come in, you open up a charter, you get capital funds, you build your building, you get your school going, and you flip to private. You've now taken all that money, and it's yours, and your children can continue on scholarships. And I don't know if we're being played or if I'm paranoid, but it really, really concerns me that we could, if we don't fight, we could be just giving away the public school system without realizing what's happening. So I encourage you to join this lawsuit. I'm really very concerned. I've been actively involved for 20 years fighting reforms, and I think we're right down to the deadline of win or lose. I'm not afraid of Tallahassee. I don't think you should be. And you just need to remember you can't lead with a whisper. We're going to have to either speak up and be part of it or just take what happens to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mace. Mr. Travis Christensen.
Evening, Travis Christensen, 2871 Affirm Court. I think a few things into consideration. First off, retaliation. What's someone going to do, like throw $5,000 or $10,000 at their buddy to get you locked out of office? That would never happen.
I think she meant like not get grants and things of that nature that we rely on, funding, like
Right.
state funding.
But, lost my train of track, thought
Sorry.
trying to be funny. Anyway, 7069. I'm not going to tell you whether it's constitutional or not, that's a legal matter. But I'll point out that detrimental does not mean unconstitutional. Just because something's bad for you doesn't mean it's illegal. I think in most cases, the state government has the ability to make laws. And in addition, it is a a Constitution Revision Commission year. Heck, they might change the Constitution on you. Well, put it forward to the voters. But look at 7069. Yes, it's a lawsuit. You could challenge it. Maybe you could win. But it's a symptom of a culture in Tallahassee that doesn't care what you think about anything because literally, this is common knowledge. They're taking their marching orders from Jeb Bush lobbyists or from the charter schools that employ the House member and Senate member that were the sponsors of this bill. I'm sure they're paid very well for get this law going for us. So until you change that culture, next year is going to be the same, like it's been the last several years in a row, at least the last 10 years, every year. I come to these meetings and the teachers are mad about something the legislature has done, and it's going to keep going on like that until something changes where your representatives cannot ignore you. Because right now, what happens? Okay, suppose you sue the state. Does that hurt Speaker of the House Corcoran? I'm not going to attack any of our local guys. Does that particularly trouble or any way discomfit any member of the legislature that you in some point would like to vote in your favor? No, it doesn't. So unless you find a way to change the culture where they can vote against you every year, without any trouble to themselves, it's going to keep going on and on and on. Now, how to do that, I'm going to leave that all to you all, but I'm going to say, like, just in Clay County, you outnumber, the school community outnumbers representatives by thousands to one. 4,000 school employees and their families. Really, 5,000? Y'all hiring too many people. Maybe they're right about y'all. But, thousands of employees, thousands of family members, thousands of friends that teachers have made over the years in schools. You can have someone at their offices 24 hours a day, every day of the year, at least making them know your point of view. Or you keep going like you have been doing.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. I'm sorry, now I'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Were there any questions of Mr. D'Agata? No. Okay. Well, anybody want to share their opinion on what we should do as a board? I know Mr. D'Agata covered it pretty well. This is an awful bill that's been imposed on us, and the ramifications it's going to have on our district and our teaching and our children. It's terrible. It's there's some good, but a lot of bad in this bill. So I think I'm interested to hear what my fellow board members have to say.
I would agree with you with most bills that come out of Tallahassee. There's good and bad in all of it. I think the question put to us is this a wise expenditure of our taxpayers' dollars, first of all? Second of all, joining this lawsuit, how does that benefit Clay County? Or is it a detriment? And I think those are the two questions we have to consider before we jump on the bandwagon. Right. Because there are a lot of large counties considering this as an option who may fight this battle for us. And I think we might be wise to consider that when it comes to expending taxpayer dollars from our general funds to fight a battle that may very well be won by larger counties with bigger checkbooks.
It's a valid point. It is. Ms. Bola?
You have anything to say? Go for it.
So,
Come back to me.
I agree with what Ms. Gohausen said. I pulled out our budget review that we just had Tuesday and then last week, and our estimated revenue sources, 78% come from the state. Not every county, especially some of those South Florida counties that have waterfront, much more waterfront property, are that dependent on the state. They have much more of their revenue drawn from their required local effort. So if you bite the hand that feeds you, and last month we chose not to have representation in Tallahassee, then we could potentially be at that point of the retaliation that you're talking about. And I'm not afraid of I'm not afraid of Tallahassee. I also know how powerful they are. And as we've seen, local school boards really are not important. They're not influential. We try. We do. We try to lobby, and I won't stop lobbying. I just don't know that this is the right path to do that for. I also appreciate, Mr. Daggett, your comments and opinions, but attorneys like to fight battles in court. I mean, that's what your job is, and so we all sat at the breakfast with, I'm sorry, Ms. Goldhausen wasn't able to be there, but the four of us sat at that breakfast that Senator Latvala spoke at for our Coalition for Northeast Florida School Boards, where he talked about some other groups that were planning on challenging the constitutionality of this. I believe that I'm not speaking out of turn that Florida School Board Association has chosen not to be part of this lawsuit. As some will recall, there was the
2 years ago,
Fund Education Now, where it was a number of school boards as well as some other organizations chose to sue the legislature, and the outcomes were real and they were painful. And the legislature as a whole gave school board members a very bad name, and some refused to even take meetings with school board members even today because of that lawsuit. Clay County didn't choose to be part of that, but I think it's very risky, and I think that just we've talked about tonight some other I think better uses of our limited funds. That's my personal opinion.
Can I just tag something onto what you were saying? I think part of what we discussed last month with hiring a lobbyist, I think as a board, we need to discuss what our vision is for our relationship in Tallahassee. We need to decide what our goals are with our legislators. And I think that we could take notes from other boards who've been successful in obtaining extra dollars from the state, in that part of the benefit to having a lobbyist is they know the things that are being funded by the state that are worthwhile going after as a district. So I think that already, like Ms. Condon said, we're behind the curve because we don't have a lobbyist to help us in the formation of our goals. So I feel like this is another step in the wrong direction, because we want more money for our district. We want more money for our classrooms. And I think not only would we be expending dollars that could go into the classroom in this lawsuit, but like you all have referenced, it's that old adage, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, Madam Chair, but I wanted to get clarification. Maybe I misheard, but I thought Ms. Paiva said that she agreed with the superintendent's position that we should join the lawsuit, and I thought we received an email from you saying that you did not think we should, so.
And through the chair, I'm not certain if I missed that, Ms. Paiva said that or not. I will say this, I've openly said that I have disagreed with so many parts in this bill. I do think there's some positives in it, and with we were removing testing from Algebra 2, we removed that. I think that we are going back to pencil and paper assessments in grades 3rd through 6th. I think that's so much better than trying to be computer-based. I think it's American Founders is being pushed back into social studies and being taught, and I think those are celebration. I think there's a lot of things in this bill that we've already openly said that charter schools no longer have to have land requirements. They can hire out of people who are not certificated. They can judge grade school districts. They can do they can continue to take some of our LCIF funds that we need to push back. However, I agree with everything that each of you have said, and all valid points. From a superintendent stance, my job is to push and to lobby for what's best for kids. Now, when I say that, I don't know if I'm ready and prepared to put the school district in a situation where we have to take finances and push this, where we have Miami-Dade, who has 350,000 kids and has a number of Mr. Dagadas ready to go. Orange County, that has 200 a number of lawyers, I say that. Orange County, that has over 200,000 students, that has a suite of lawyers as well. Everyone clearly knows where Addison Davis stands on this. I do agree with Ms. Piper. There's a lot of things we've got to address. I'm not certain if Clay County wants to stand aggressively and push this, because I'll be honest with you, I have to focus on improving teaching and learning every single day. My job, I want to focus on providing the best experience for kids every single day. Whether this bill is you're pro or con of it, or so many different avenues in this, I say my recommendation for this board is, without knowing, there's often times that we will be in court, and we know that. The problem is when we go to court, we want to know we're going to win. And I don't know, and I can't project what the outcome will be, but I would say we should be caution in this, and allow us either to attain more information, who's actually going in, who's going to be involved, how much money is it going to cost, what are the expectations of us, and before we just say we're involved in this.
Thank you. Mrs. Stutter, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'm going to talk. I was waiting to get my turn.
I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to hear what you had to say. If you had asked me 2 or 3 days ago, my attitude has kind of changed a little bit due to some things that have been happening over the last week or two in Clay County. There's a part of me that doesn't really want to antagonize the legislature, but then again I thought, we haven't done anything to antagonize them, and they just keep handing us a bunch of every year. And then I thought, we really can't afford to jump into a lawsuit right now. I mean, look at our budget, and we're trying to get our fund balance up. This isn't a good time. And then part of me thought, well, we're saving, $5,000 a month because we don't have a lobbyist now. So there's little money we could play with there. I'm a little bit concerned about this pro rata business, not having any idea what it might wind up costing. I don't want to jump into something where there's no price tag on it. I want to know what I'm committing to. I thought you might say, well, if y'all could come up with $10,000, we could get in there and be a player. But I don't want them coming back and saying we need 20 more, 30 more, 50 more, whatever. I'm very worried about that. That's kind of, we're not rich enough for that. But then there's a side of me, and I'm just going to be blunt about it. I am fed up. I have finally had it. This House bill has so many different things in it. I mean, there's supposed to be one subject to a bill. This thing is all over the map. There is the mood in Tallahassee is charters are great, and I am convinced that they are not going to rest until they let charter schools just take over. I think that the demise of the public schools, if we know them, we're seeing it happen day by day, year by year, and I honestly am just fed up. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm willing to go public and say, I want to be a part of this. If they do bring suit, I don't want to spend a bunch of money, but I want people to know that I support and Cochran and Negron and even the governor. I mean, I feel let down. I mean, look at the Constitution of the state of Florida. They're to provide and fund a quality public education for all of the kids in Clay County and in this state of Florida. and they're not doing it, and I'm ready to call their hand on it, and they get mad at me if they want to. I don't really care.
Well, I agree with you, but I'm just not sure
sick and
this is the
tired
way
of
to
it.
do it, because they can be mad at me all day long. I don't care if they like me at all.
Yeah.
But I care if they affect our kids by taking funding away, and that's my concern. I don't at
How
all,
much more can they take away?
they can take a lot.
I mean, we're giving our money to charter schools now.
But they can take more. Look at
Well-
what they did with the rollback rate this year. Look at what they did. I'm
mean-
not trying to, I just don't like being painted that if I don't support this, I don't support public education. I have always fought for kids. I will continue to fight for kids. And just because I don't support jumping into suing the legislature doesn't mean that I don't fight for kids.
I'm glad to hear what y'all have said. I'm saying I want to be a player, I just don't have any money. This is like, what is the saying? Got a beer budget and a champagne taste? That's the way I feel right now. I don't know what we can do about the money. Is there any way that we can just say, yeah, we want to be a part of this, but not commit any money and wait until they figure out how the money is going to come in?
I don't see that happening, and here's why. The party plaintiffs, which would be a bunch of school boards, presumably more than 5 and maybe up to 15, will enter ultimately into a joint agreement whereby all of their communications are confidential and privileged, attorney work product, so on and so forth. So that could be waived if you are not a party plaintiff. And I think the only way you're going to become a party plaintiff is to commit funds. And for instance, I know that St. Lucie County is comparable to us, and they went, I believe, to 25.
What?
25,000. They authorized up to 25,000. I can tell you, it'll make a big difference if the larger school districts make their decision to join the fray here. I think that it is wise to anticipate if you were to authorize, $10,000, $25,000. I think it's inevitable. I'd be coming back to you at some point when this, the money ran out. I do think that there will come a time to put more into the kitty. It might be substantially less if we have large districts involved on our side of the V, if you will.
And I have an idea. Our next meeting is September the 7th, and you said that they're not likely to do anything before September. Maybe in the next 4 weeks, there might be a little more activity from other districts, and we would have a better handle. I mean, these large counties have a lot more money than we've got, and
Yeah, there's a cat and mouse game going on among the smaller and larger districts, but I'll tell you, just to be very candid with you, I think that the complaint is going to be drafted probably by the end of this month. So if you're going to, I know, if I'm going to be involved in the lawsuit, I want to have a say, I want to have some influence on what the claims are, because the claims themselves can, add substantially to the overall costs of a lawsuit, or make them much more streamlined and efficient. I think that ultimately what the boards would be wise to do is go into a circuit court, ask for the court to declare various provisions of the law unconstitutional, and get a judgment. Forget about proving how harmful it is or so on and so forth. Just compare it to the obligations set forth and the authorities set forth in the Constitution, and ask a judge to determine if it harmonizes with the Constitution. You get a judgment, one side or another is going to appeal it. So I would encourage you to make that decision now. It's really one of the urgencies that I had in bringing this to the board.
I just can't, as much as I want to be a part of this, I just can't vote for a blank check.
Right.
Not with our district in the financial state that it's in right now. I couldn't sleep at night not knowing how much it's going to run up. That's too,
Many other school boards, just so you know, many other school boards have reached that decision.
Mr. Daggett, couldn't we also take the strategy that you fight the battle when it becomes an issue in your county? Where, if we had a charter school that,
It will become an issue in our county in a few
no,
years.
I understand
Those charter
that,
schools
but I'm
no
saying
longer
that,
here
wouldn't that be the
qualify.
point where we fight the battle, is what I'm saying? Would that not be more financially?
It's almost too late at that point, I
yeah,
believe.
I
It's
agree
it's
with
now
that.
or never.
Mr. Daggett, what are your thoughts on that?
I tell the board, I tell administrators, you can be sued for anything, and I need to ensure that you're not sued for meritorious claims. I would much rather shape a lawsuit as the plaintiff, I'm just giving you my personal view on it, alongside other boards who have skin in the game, than to go it alone. I think that it's inevitable that, it could be that the participating boards put together a complaint, put together a lawsuit, and they find that the courts, from the trial court all the way up, don't see merit to their lawsuit. But on down the line, where there's true application of the law in a set of circumstances, an as-applied challenge, that is, this statute might not offend the Constitution on its face, but when you apply it, for instance, the ad valorem, the forced ad valorem, when it's applied, it's at that point that I think many courts would see that you could set forth a meritorious claim.
Mr. Daggett, in that same light, is there the potential that a judge would look at the boards that were involved in this and say, how have you been harmed? And if you can't prove that you've been harmed, to Ms. Karakis's point, we don't have charter schools today that will qualify for the capital outlay dollars. We have no schools of hope. We don't intend to have any schools of hope. So I understand that the bill itself covers much broader basis, and I understand that that's one of the legal challenges. And Senator Latvala told us that he thought that that the bill would actually be challenged on that merit alone, that there would be not school boards, but constitutional groups that would go forth and say just merely the way that the bill was crafted, the fact that it involves so many different areas of the law, that would be. But my question is, isn't there the possibility that if Clay County joined this lawsuit, they would throw Clay out because we can't prove harm right now financially?
Well, that's called standing, whether you have a case or a controversy, whether you do have harm. And that is a fundamental point that you need to show on paper on your complaint. I think that it's foreseeable that school boards around the state would be able to show standing on a constitutional, just on the face of various provisions of the statute are offensive to the Constitution. I think that many school boards will have standing. And I heard the same thing, by the way, with the Florida School Boards Association. That was, as I understand it, a significant, if not the most significant, concern that the association had. Do we have the same standing as a representative body as a school board? And of course it doesn't. It's not the same as a school board. So, all of this comes down to the same question, and that is the opportunity to shape your complaint. I can tell you, I wouldn't be part of shaping a complaint where I can see that we're going to have trouble staying in the fight, okay?
But our money's already spent then.
Yes.
Right.
I'm sure if we asked Ms. Paiva, she could put together a very good list of things that we qualify for to be a part of this suit. Ms. Bola, I know you've been wanting to speak.
It was difficult for me to speak earlier because I'm so incredibly conflicted with this.
Yeah.
Hate this bill with a passion. And unlike Mr. Christensen, I would probably want to call out some of our local legislators, because our local effort, the local effort that the government, that the state is allowing us, is digging gullies into our general fund. And in turn, you're talking about taking money out of the general fund, and we're still trying to get salary. We're still trying to take care of medical benefits. It's one of those things where you're sitting back saying, would this be a frivolous lawsuit on our part at this point? And with Ms. Studdard, I was hoping that we could wait. It sounds like now's not the time to wait. We would probably need to make a decision tonight. Furthermore, reading about this bill, it conflicts itself. There are 300 pages in this bill, and there are parts of it that conflict with other parts of it. And in listening to Senator Latvala, he informed us, I think it was earlier in the year, that bottom line, it depends on which bill is passed last to determine what the actual law is going to be. There were so many issues within this one bill, and the unconstitutionality of it is, as I agree, is going to be brought out in the legal fields, and literally they will have a field day with it. Ms. Studdard, you said God himself could not have helped us at the last school board meeting with this legislative session.
It was all.
A lobbyist could not have helped us.
No.
We do not have a legislative agenda, and until we work with our superintendent, not with a lobbyist who doesn't know Clay County, but until we work with our superintendent to determine what our legislative agenda is going to be, what our needs are as a county, and right now, our needs are our local effort. We need to be able to raise the funds to be able to afford paying everyone in our county who has not had a pay raise in years, and we also need to be able to handle the cost of our medical benefits for our people. It's like balancing your checkbook at home. What do you choose to do? What don't you choose to do? I can't, in good conscience, at this point say, ooh, let's jump into that effort with the big boys. Because we're a mere pup in comparison to Hillsborough, Orange, and Dade, but boy, would I love to.
Boy, would I love to.
And be there for it all, and just say, you need to stop. It's the law to basically say you are by law required to support public education. And this doesn't do it.
We didn't even get any help from our local delegation. That's what really makes me sick.
I was talking to Dr. Legutko after our workshop the other day, and I said, I would like to know when, not the education committees, but when the financial committees start working on this. When the finance committees are starting to talk about the local efforts, because those are the people that we need to go to.
And Ms. Bulla, to your point, a lobbyist could help you with that. That's what they're there for. They know the timeframes, they know the
We
players.
can get that also from the Florida School Board Association and from a variety of other sources.
Okay, but how effective has the Florida School Boards Association been in Tallahassee?
Well, I think that
More so than the lobbyist has
I was
been.
going to say that-
Absolutely.
Actually, no.
This year-
Actually, I don't think that that's true, but I don't want to debate that. That's not on the agenda. We're not here to debate that. What I do believe is that the millage rate was personal, that Corcoran went after. He said he was going after it at the very beginning of session, and he got it. He fought and fought and fought and fought and got it. And whatever backroom deals were cut, we don't know. We really don't know what deals were cut. He and the governor were calling each other every name in the book, and the next thing you know, they're doing a victory tour. And they actually cut Negron out and cut all of the higher education bills that went with it. We know Corcoran has come out and said he's running for governor. We know he wants to run for governor. I am concerned with where the rest of 17 and the 2018 session, which happens in January, could take us. And if we think they're not paying attention, get a Twitter subscription and subscribe to Manny Diaz, subscribe to Corcoran, subscribe to a number of the other senators, and read what they tweet and read what they retweet and what they share, because they know who's paying who, they know who's in these lawsuits. They retweet articles about county schools and school boards and what they're doing, and charter schools and what they're doing. They watch, and they know which counties you're from. I've had the personal experience, Ms. Karakas, you were with us, to have a conversation with Manny Diaz. We know where his priorities are. He happens to be chair of the Education Appropriations Committee. He's much bigger than I'm not interested in going picking a fight. And I'm not interested in picking a fight tonight on whether we should join or on whether we should have a lobbyist or anything like that. But I do think it's important for us to consider that painting each other in different lights is not, we're all on the same boat. We're all
Right,
fighting
we
for
are.
kids. We're all fighting for Clay County. And we are all interested in being fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money. I think that that's important to say, because we've worked hard to be a board that has constructive disagreement, but then can come back and be collaborative together.
All right.
And
so
to your point, Ms. Condon, I just want to be clear, Ms. Bull, I wasn't trying to pick a fight with you. I just think we see
No.
lobbyists
And it's
differently. And
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
and it's
very
okay
true.
to disagree on that.
This is not fighting. I can tell you about fighting.
No, I
This is
understand
nice.
that, but I just wanted to be clear that,
This is a discussion.
and I felt like it
And
was.
on that note, I'd like to add my opinion. So if you ladies would be quiet, I'd like a chance to share my concerns about this. And I feel like Mrs. Studdard, I think we need to get involved. We need to maybe just put a cap on the amount that we could spend, maybe, commit $10,000 right now or $25,000 and have Mr. Daggett be the voice at the table for us. My concern with this legislature is that they are trying to do away with public education as we know it. They are so charter school friendly, and everything that they are pushing is geared towards benefiting charter schools. And, charter schools are taking, $8 million of our money this year? That's $8 million to 3 different charter schools, and we see the one charter school that's just failed, and we're not getting any money back from that charter school. We're already seeing a loss, and that's money that should be going to Clay County Public Schools, not to charter schools. And that's just one thing in this bill that outrages me, and we all know what's in it. I'm not going to go list by list of the good and the bad, recess is there and VAM scores and all of this stuff. But I think sitting on the side and burying our head in the sand is not the thing to do. I just think that we need to get involved. We need to commit some money. We need to put Mr. Daggett in there and find out what's going on. If the majority of the board does not want to do that, then I would like to ask Mr. Daggett to give us, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, updates on what the other districts are doing. And in September, advise us again on an update of where we're at, and maybe in September, we might have a different feel for it. I'm not asking us to make a decision right now, but I do want you to know, I feel very strongly that we need to stand up for public education. And this year was a smack in the face to every school district in the state of Florida. We deserve better. Our children deserve better. So I would like, if the majority does not want to move forward, and I understand that it sounds to me like Mrs. Studdard and I are the two that maybe want to go forward, or maybe not even Mrs. Studdard, maybe it's just me.
Lola wants to go forward
But-
too, but we just can't figure out where we'd get the money.
Well, why don't we sit on it till September and let Mr. Daggett come back with us and let us know a more accurate number that it might cost us? I mean, I understand about not wanting to write a blank check. I'm concerned
We can't write a
if we
blank
do commit 10 or 25,000 and then they ask for 70,000 more, we know we can't do that. But I don't want to see us sitting on the sideline and letting somebody else deal with all of this and not be happy with the outcome because we didn't have a voice and we weren't a part of it. And we have a responsibility to the students here in Clay County and to public education, regardless of how you personally feel about charter schools. Every one of us are sitting here on the board of Clay County Public School District. We are elected officials to represent the public schools, every single one of us. So we need to stand up for public education. So that is my feeling on it. Do I have consensus to ask Mr. Daggett?
I would just encourage also, through FSBA, we have a great network throughout the state, and I think it would be a great idea for us to call our fellow board members in the counties that are joining this lawsuit and just share our thoughts.
Okay. Very good.
I think that might be a what to do between now and then.
Mr. Daggett, that seems like consensus for us, that we're going to ask you to keep us abreast. Maybe if there's weekly reports, you can let us know, and we'll bring it back in September, and you can
Yes.
give us an update on where we're at and a more accurate number of what it may cost us to get
Yes,
involved.
I will do my best. What I'm hoping is that I can stay in the loop, that is, the boards that have committed, that by then, they haven't reached an agreement as to who the team is, and then discussions are insular to them. So that is fine. And look, by the way, there's 67 other school boards throughout the state. If it gives you any reprieve, 5 of them have committed. So by September, I'm thinking we may have more than that, and I will be able to provide to you where the various attorneys are, if they're still talking about this pro rata share based on enrollment, and you get 3 large school boards involved in the case, that could really take the edge off financially.
Can we also stay abreast of other organizations that are pursuing this bill legally as well?
Sure.
I mean,
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I was asking that we also stay abreast of any other outside organizations, and it won't be the Florida School Board Association, but I feel that I read that there were other organizations that were following some legal
Well, Senator Lamb
avenues.
had referred
Yes.
to some of those.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daggett. Thank you, ladies. Our next item is item C2, Dell purchase agreement for the student Chromebooks. This item was pulled by Mrs. Studdard. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Studdard. Ms. Studdard, you pulled it, so would you like to discuss it?
Yes, and I'm in a minute going to refer over to Mr. McCauley. Are you awake? Okay. Okay.
They're all picking on him tonight.
We're picking on him, okay. And I had talked to Mr. McCauley this morning when I received an email from a teacher, and there was a little concern there, so I called Mr. McCauley. He was one of the 2 names with this on the agenda, and it was this email was basically saying that they had been looking at the agenda for tonight's board meeting and wanted to point out something that he had or she had noticed, and under the heading of IT communications, it gives an attachment that is titled Previous Outcomes Device Counts. I believe that this attachment is misleading on the progress of device implementation. At their particular school, for instance, it shows that the school had 442 active Windows computers. This may be the number of computers that have the ability to access Windows, but it is not the number of computers that are accessible for student use to complete required testing. The actual number of computers in this school is about 100 less than shown. Included in this count are teacher-use computers, generally 1 per classroom, as well as guidance, administration, and secretary computers. As a school of close to 1,500 students, we are forced to move students and teachers out of their normal classrooms when we enter testing mode in the spring. Even then, it takes us close to 2 months of disrupted schedule to test all of our students. So from this, I gathered that they were afraid that the big guys down here would look at their 442 and say, oh, well, they've got plenty, so we'll go to the next school. But when I called Mr. McCauley, he very nicely explained to me what this is all about, and I said, would you please explain this on the board floor tonight, because this teacher is watching, and I want you to explain it to all teachers and parents. Everything you told me this morning.
No pressure at all.
No, ma'am. To the chair, I am awake and have been all evening.
Mr. Davis said
I'll
no.
deal with the superintendent later. So one of the things that the IT department has been attempting to do is get some sense of what we do have by way of devices across our buildings, whether they're desktops or laptops, Chromebooks, whatever they might be. It was only just a couple of years ago when we first got to a place where someone with a vision came in, to be totally transparent, and took control of that. So when things were purchased, they started coming through that department so that we could inventory, that we could determine they were a good purchase and could meet the needs of what they were being bought for. That survey that the person saw, I appreciate him or her writing. We are certainly well aware that the numbers are not meant to reflect what students have access to. And in fact, this was sort of a bigger project, allowing us to just understand for faculty, staff, and students what is available, what is in computer labs, what is sitting on a teacher's desk, in a secretary's office, etc. So we are aware of what is available to students in the buildings, and this contract that we're asking you to consider this evening is first and foremost allowing us to deal with that equity gap, so that schools like Oak Leaf Junior, for example, would be reviewed and offered devices for students at a level that would get them to where we need them to be, versus the school next door maybe not getting as many. So we have a good understanding of what's available to kids at this point. And this initial purchase of 6,200 devices will allow us to be very strategic in how we close that gap, and to prepare us to implement the initiatives that the superintendent is asking for by way of iReady and Achieve and other reasons for access to the computers. And then anything after that will help us build to the point where we are truly going to be in a place where we can have a device in every student's hand.
Right.
That
And you had
helps?
said, before y'all came in and started trying to get this plan together, that we really didn't know who had what in what school. They were just buying them, and the county office didn't know. So you're trying to create a system here, and the numbers may be a little off or whatever, but you've got to start somewhere so that you will have it with the Clay County, what do you call it, ID code, what am I trying to say, that they put on
Barcode inventory.
the inventory code. I was trying to get it.
Got it.
So they'll have the inventory code, and we won't have just equipment out in the schools that the county office isn't even aware of. So
Yes, ma'am,
I
that's
think this
correct.
is going to clean it up, and I hope that this assures this teacher who wrote to me and others that it'll be fair and equitable, and that they will be looked at, because I understand that they are up on, a little birdie told me they were
Yes,
at the
ma'am.
top of the
That would
list.
be true.
Okay, thank you. That's all. Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate it.
Was there any further discussion?
I just have a question. Is this a move away from the Chromebooks? Because I thought that was originally, the plan was to do one-to-one devices on Chromebooks. Are we?
We, through the chair, we currently have so many Chromebooks already on site, so we don't want to go ahead and change platforms. And when I say equipment, not platforms, but equipment. So this would be a contract that pushes us to continue to purchase Chromebooks and just have a better opportunity of having the top-of-the-line equipment, to have a better opportunity for repairs, maintenance, and to get devices in the quicker in our students' hands in order to have the blended learning opportunity.
Okay, so Dell manages the Chrome, like that's all rolled into one.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, I have a motion by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Studdard. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
I want to thank Mr. McCauley for being awake.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley.
See, it's not just me, Mr. McCauley. It's this gentleman on the end.
Our next item is Human Resource Special Action A. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Bola. Any discussion?
I'd like to say
question.
something.
Go ahead.
So it says right here at the top, avoid reading, whatever it says, avoid, I'm making Mr. Broski's heart beat fast over
I think
there.
it's avoid reading employee name.
Okay, so I just have to say that protection of our students is the utmost to every single one of us, and we would hope every employee in our district. And personally, this is disgusting to me. This kind of action.
I just need to caution you because.
I understand.
Be very guarded in what you say, please.
I understand. But there have been other things set up here that at times have indemnified our district at times, and I just.
No, but this is different. This is a suit. This could turn into, so just be guarded with what you say.
I feel the need to say, I'm as passionate about this as Mrs. Studdard, and I didn't disagree with you, so I was passionate then. I'm as passionate about this as I was about our racial issue we had at Fleming Island High School. And I did have a question about this. I think my emotion has, and how I feel, has been communicated to the public.
I think we all feel the same way you do.
My question is, how did we choose the date of May 31st? It says in here the date is May 31st, and my question is, how did we choose the date?
Mr. Davis, would you like to answer that?
I would seek to, I want to make sure I'm accurate, so.
I would be cautious in this information because this information first came to light around that date. And so if you notice, the action the board's taking today will not be a final resolution to the issue, but it's where we are now in the process to ensure due process rights to the employee.
So, I read the article in the newspaper, and the date did not match up with this. Article doesn't say Clay County School District.
Ms. Condon, I have to stop.
Would not be proper to discuss this on the.
Mr. Daggett, would you please clarify how this is not an item we can discuss as a board because it could turn into.
So I just went live with my mic. I think that totally understandable. The emotional response and expressing that. I think beyond that, it is appropriate to take action on the matter that's before the board, and that is to approve or disapprove the continued paid suspension of this employee, and leave it at that. And it's not to stifle public discussion. It is, as Mr. Brodsky said, to ensure the greatest degree of due process to the subject employee.
So my question was, are we authorized to suspend without pay, or is that not at our discretion?
I don't believe we are at this point until an investigation has been done.
You can
Y'all are making me
authorize.
so nervous.
There's a contractual issue also related to this for CESPA employees that plays into the timeline of these events.
Okay.
And I would strongly urge the board to conclude discussion on the issue.
And
Can
to
I just
answer the
reiterate
question,
to make sure I understand?
the statutes, those that are cited, even within this item, express clear authority under these circumstances to impose a paid suspension.
But not an unpaid suspension?
That is not clear in the statutes.
Okay. So at this point, it would be beyond our authority to do so, and it is because of
Contractual language.
contractual language bargained through CESPA. CESPA protection, essentially. Okay.
All right. I'm going to close discussion on this. And let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Our next item, item D5, public hearing to approve as advertised the annual update to the 2017-2018 student progression plan. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. If there's anybody who'd like to speak on this item. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
No, go ahead.
I have a motion by Ms. Studdard, a second by Ms. Condon. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is public hearing to approve as advertised amendments to the 2016-2017. Wait a second, shouldn't that say 2017-2018?
Yes, ma'am.
2017-2018, through 2018-2019 ESE Special Policy and Procedures Manual. I'll open up the public hearing. Is anybody here to speak on that? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. Bola, second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a public hearing to approve as advertised revisions to the 2017-2018 Code of Student Conduct. I'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak on that? Mr. Otto? Just state your name and address, please.
Yes, ma'am. James Otto, 2908 Blaney Boulevard, Middleburg, Florida, 32068. Sorry I was late. I still thought it was at 7 o'clock. I tried to turn in some cards, but they were refused. And I would ask the board to relook at that and allow the public to speak on the agenda items and not have to be here at that time, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, to fill in a card. As you know, the Board of County Commissioners is changing their time frame. So the public can come and speak at their meetings. I don't think that that's the real issue, but
Did you have something
as
you
far
wanted to
as
speak
this
about the Code of
issue,
Conduct?
yes, ma'am. I like to say under this conduct, I don't know if I can or not, but I like to say that I'm sorry about that 16-year-old that was just paralyzed playing football, and I think the conduct of our schools needs to be in check with this football. I just seen they're building another school and they're removing the football area to another location. I hope this board will look at doing the same on the school that you're talking about, because the conduct of our kids is really bad. And if we can get rid of that child abuse of football out of our schools, I think we'll be all a lot happier. And I hear y'all talking about, and if I can quote, the best experience for kids. And when they're bullying each other and, the teachers aren't being paid properly, that's a problem. And if we could just step back and just remove football for a few years and see how things go, that would be a good thing. It really would. It's sad that boy's now not feeling his legs because he was playing high school football, and just all the other abuse that comes along with it. I don't think I need to go into every angle of it, but they have doctors on their practice fields on the NFL and at the games, and I don't think you've got a doctor in these schools for medical reasons. So I really ask the board to relook at the conduct of what's going on with these kids and really try to give them the best experience. If the parents want to abuse their kids after school, then let them do it after school.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. And
Punch your kid, you go to jail. But you put them in football and
Mr.
pay
Otto,
money.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'd like to apologize that you weren't here early enough. We changed our meetings to 6
Yes,
o'clock,
ma'am.
and to be considerate of the constituents who'd like to come, we moved public comment to the beginning. So in the future, if you'd like to speak, just come at 6, and then you don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it if you put it at the beginning and the end.
Nope, just the beginning. That's what was adopted by the board, and we have an organizational meeting where it's adopted, and that's policy.
Or
So
at least
it's
let
the
us
beginning.
speak on the agenda item as they come up. I'd appreciate it.
All right, you have a great night, and
All
thank you
right.
for coming
You
tonight.
too, thank you. Good seeing you at the thing on the green.
Concert on the green?
Yes, sorry they kicked me out and suspended me from the property, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, have a good night, thank you.
They don't
All right,
own
so
the property.
I'm closing the public hearing, Mr. Otto, have a seat. Thank you. Public hearing is closed, I'll bring it back to the board, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Studdard, a second by Mrs. Bola. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You guys are killing me. Motion carries. Mr. Daggett, do you have any? Mr. Daggett, do you have any remarks you'd like to share with the board?
Absolutely not. Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent? All right, Ms. Gilhausen?
I just have to say what a stellar job our leadership team did at the principal's professional development this month, or actually last month. I was able to attend the first day, and it was I can't remember the name of it, but it's the partnership with the University of Florida. Is it Lassiter?
Lassiter.
Just really phenomenal subject material. I felt like it was, I know, time well spent for me, so I know that the principals surely gleaned a lot from it as well, and I'm looking forward to the start of a new school year with new leadership. I think that so much of the priorities that we've set forth with instruction and curriculum and even climate and culture, I think are really going to move us in the right direction, and I'm excited to see where we land at the end of the year.
Thank you. Ms. Bola?
August 15th is right around the corner, so just a shout out to all of you. Teachers, bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, administration, all of you in the county office, and most particularly to our children, because that first week of school is awesome.
Ms. Condon?
I spent about 4.5 hours, I think about a week ago, on an ESSA work group with Florida School Board Association. We got together over in St. Augustine, went through the entire 68-page recommendation response, from DOE's response to federal DOE. ESSA, and it was the public comment period. We had to get it back during a certain amount of time. FADS had not gotten to do a full work group, so they sent some comments via email that we incorporated, but we went through each and every one of it. Ironically enough, there are a number of ways that DOE is finding it challenging to meet ESSA and House Bill 7069. So DOE themselves may be challenging part of, so I think that was, my point earlier. I think there's other ways around, but I did want to report back that I worked on this ESSA work group. One of the biggest challenges, and it hasn't been talked about much here in our district, but I'm sure that's just because you have been so busy doing other things, is Title I money and how you've been restricted on the use of that Title I money. That was kind of the consensus throughout ESSA, because that's, hurting, and then lots of Title III discussion on how they are restricting those funds as well. But I thought it was a good collaborative work group. We are going to be, there's a, and I forgot, do you guys, can you guys help me, because my memory right now, Vern Crawford Pickup, is that right? Vern Crawford Pickup is a longtime lobbyist in, not just in Tallahassee, but in Washington, and he has been very active with FSBA. He's retiring this year. He is going to be sorely missed because he helps keep us apprised of how to kind of muddle through all that in Washington and the things that are being talked about there. One of the things that is that President Trump has said that they're not going to fund, we don't know if they're going to fund, but it would greatly affect our district, it would harm our district, is the 21st Century Learning Communities grants. So we do need to kind of pay a little bit of attention to that, and if you get an opportunity to contact our federal legislators to tell them that that's important to our school children, that would be beneficial. I also wanted to just say I too am excited about the opening of our school year. I had to charge my phone 3 times today, which is not a bad thing, but from the high school level, schedules were released, to my knowledge, for the first time today on Focus, which is the first time we've done that. You know, in the past, our students have had to go and pick up, and I've gotten great compliments on that, so congratulations. That's been a good thing. I'm sure that that helps to reduce the paper. So I've had some parents say, in future, could we consider having like orientation or meet the teacher times or things like that during either, well, they would like them to be after hours so they don't have to take off work. But if we couldn't accommodate that, maybe accommodate the lunch hour. So I think a lot of our meet and greets are like 1 to 3, especially at the elementary level. And some parents have lunch from 12 to 1 and they're having to take off. So I just wanted to pass that along. I had a couple parent phone calls. I told them I would. But otherwise, everyone have a great school year. We really do appreciate our employees having, is this the last week that they're off, and then our kids are enjoying their last few days of freedom as well. Unless you're had summer assignments, then you're already in it.
Thank you, Mrs. Studdard.
Okay. Do you realize that's just a week from next Tuesday? The kids will be back in school. Well, we talk about starting school earlier because, in the old days, we started at Labor Day. My grandkids in Atlanta started the 31st of July.
Oh, wow.
Is it your
Public schools, yeah. 31st of July. I couldn't believe it. So, hey.
Do they get out before Memorial Day?
I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I think we had a good meeting tonight. We disagreed on things, but everybody's cool. That's good. That's the way it should be. And on a lighter note, before I close, on September the 2nd, which is the Saturday before our September 7th board meeting, up in Atlanta, there's going to be a ball game. And
what game would that be?
I think it's Alabama and FSU. And so I cannot leave this meeting without saying Roll Tide.
Oh, gosh. Well, yeah, this was a very good meeting, and I really don't have anything that you have all touched on, everything about the school year, about the Title I and the Title III funding, and I believe Title II funding's been touched also. So, yeah, so we're really, anyway, just wish everybody a successful school year. I thank our teachers, our support people, our admin people. Everybody's worked so hard, and I know they're probably really not ready to go back, but we need you, so go back and do the best you can and have a great year. Thank you.
Ms. Karakis, I just need to add one more thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. I've had parents reach out to me from Charles E. Bennett with concern about the start and stop time because of childcare. They're trying to get it lined up. It's coming up next week and a half, I guess.
Same hours as last year.
Is it the same hours as last year? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Through the chair, everything is going to remain the same. We thought we would need to extend time in order to meet the requirements by state statute in reference to adding the additional minutes for literacy. However, Dr. Stallman has worked rigorously with Mrs. Principal Lawson, and we will remain the same, which means bus routes remain the same, and everybody stays on task.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So with that, meeting is adjourned.